This video is brought to you with the support of TrueFire. Learn, practice, and play with TrueFire. Hi, this is Keith Williams. Welcome to 5 Watt World, where we're interested to help you get the most music from the least gear. It's 1976, and I've joined the audio-video club at my high school, mostly to gain access to the equipment room at the back of the library, where I could hole up and make bootleg cassette tapes of records that I'm borrowing from friends. There were only about 80 people in my high school class, and there were even a smaller number that were into the kind of guitar-centric music that I was. But Jack always seemed to be finding things before I did, and so he showed up one day with a new album. We each put on a pair of headphones, Jack put the needle down on the album, and turned it up. The sound of the crowd came up, and then the MC says, "Are you ready for ZZ Top?" And the boys launch into the upbeat version of Thunderbird. That record, of course, was ZZ Top's Fandango, extolling us to get high, 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 more than a little anti-establishment messaging for the back room of the library. Little did I know it, but in that moment would start a lifelong fascination with Billy Gibbons' guitar playing and the sound of a pair of 50s Gibson guitars, a 58 Flying V, and Gibbons' one and only 1959 Les Paul Standard, nicknamed Pearly Gates. There aren't many guitars in the world that most any guitar player would know by name, and I think Pearly must be at the top of the list. So if you've always wanted to hear the story of one of the most famous guitars on the planet, you're in the right place, because this is the 5 Watt World short history of Billy Gibbons' Pearly Gates. To support what we do, grab a t-shirt, hoodie, or a 5 Watt World Barber Collaboration overdrive pedal. To become an even bigger part of 5 Watt World, sign up for the Friends of 5 Watt on Patreon. There's a friend level to suit any budget. And if you're a musician who's always wanted to have your own YouTube channel but didn't know where to start, buy my YouTube Mastery for Musicians course. It's all the things that I wish I knew when I started. All the links are in the description. Purchased in 1968, Pearly Gates has been in the front and center of every ZZ Top album from that first record in '71 to the present day. William Frederick Gibbons was born on December 16, 1949, in the Tanglewood neighborhood of Houston, Texas. His dad was an entertainer, orchestra conductor, and concert pianist, and worked for Samuel Goodwin at MGM Studios in Hollywood. When Gibbons was 5 years old, his mother took Billy and his sister to see Elvis Presley. When he was 7, his father would take him to a B.B. King recording session. Billy received his first electric guitar following his 13th birthday, a Sunburst Gibson Melody Maker, along with a Fender Champ amplifier. While attending Warner Brothers Art School in Hollywood, California, Gibbons was in his first bands. By the time he was 18, he'd formed the Moving Sidewalks with his friend Rocky Erickson and had a hit with the tune 99th Floor. Billy's always said that he started chasing the Gibson humbucker sound after hearing Eric Clapton on John Mayall and the Blues Breakers, featuring Eric Clapton, released in July of 1966, what is generally referred to as the Beano album. Looking at the back cover, he saw pictures of Clapton in the studio holding a Sunburst Les Paul with a Marshall amp lurking in the background. And from that point forward, Billy's search began. Billy had already become hip to the magic of a Marshall rig through his friendship with Jimi Hendrix. The Moving Sidewalks had opened for Hendrix during the Texas leg of Jimmy's first U.S. tour in February of 1968. Billy was just 19 years old at the time. He got to hang out with Jimmy on the road, exchange guitar tips, and talk about the pursuit of tone. But the first stop on the search for that big humbucker sound wouldn't be a Les Paul. In a way, it was actually something just as cool. Knowing that Billy was looking for a Gibson, a musician friend of his, Reed Farrell, called him up and said, "You know me, I'm a Telecaster guy, but I think I found one of those guitars with the fat pickups that you want." It wasn't a Les Paul. Instead, that guitar ended up being a 1958 Gibson Flying V. The unique tone of the carina-bodied V would be Billy's first taste of buckers into a Marshall. It was a great sound, so great that Billy would use that guitar extensively early in his career as well, particularly on stage, as we'd see on the cover of Fandango. I mean, is there anything more rock and roll than a Flying V? Released in 1958 as part of an effort for Gibson to be seen as innovative again, and to be competitive with that upstart company Fender, the Flying V and Explorer guitars were launched the same year as the new Sunburst finish on the Les Paul. But at the 1958 NAMM show, they weren't received as well as Gibson had hoped. And in the end, just 81 Vs were shipped in 1958, with another 17 shipped in '59. This leaves the original Flying V as one of the rarest guitars in the world, even rarer than the fabled Les Paul Bursts. When making the video on Flying Vs, I had a chance to speak to luthier Phil Jones, the first employee hired at the Gibson custom shop. Over the years, he worked on many original Vs, and he built other Carina replica Vs as well. He was quick to point out that the combination of the string-through body bridge, the Carina, and the early PAFs was truly magical. All of this in addition to the amazing looks of a V. I once heard Joe Bonamassa say in an interview, "When someone comes on stage with a V, you know something is about to happen." You can see and hear that 58 V on some of the live cuts on Fandango. But all of this fueled the fire of Billy's appetite for a burst, and he let it be known among his musician friends that he was still on the hunt for one of those fabled Les Pauls. I reached out to TrueFighter to be my sponsor because I've used them for years. I'm currently having fun going through Jim Campolongo's Sonic Tele course. With over 2 million users worldwide, whether you're a beginner, intermediate, or advanced level player, TrueFighter has lessons to enhance and inspire your playing. Get 35% off courses using the promo code 5watt35. Or like I do, sign up for the All Access Pass to use the entire TrueFighter catalog. I really like TrueFighter, and I think if you give them a shot, you'll like them too. Sign up using the link in the description to support 5 Watt World and get some great lessons at the same time. I'd like to thank TrueFighter for their support in making this video. Meanwhile, an artist friend of Billy's, Andy Fian, had given him a 1936 Packard. Soon after, Billy had a girlfriend, Renee Thomas, who'd been invited to go to Hollywood for a screen test. But she didn't have a way to get there. They decided to give her the car to drive from Houston to Hollywood. Billy had doubts that the car could make it past El Paso, but it brought her all the way there, and she got the part. When she was on the phone with Billy, she said that the car had divine intervention and helped kicking off her career, and she named it Pearly Gates. A little time went by, and she asked Billy, "What should I do with the car?" Billy said, "Go ahead and sell it." So she sold the car, and she sent $500 back to Billy. He got $250, and his buddy got $250. Billy remembers, "A dear friend of mine, a fellow musician, Mr. John Wilson, was playing in a band called The Magic Ring out of Houston. He told me, there's a rancher outside of town who played in a country band but has turned his attention towards wrangling cattle. Rumor has it that the guitar still resides under one of the beds in his ranch house." The money for the car had just arrived that day, so with the money in his pocket, Gibbons drove solo the hour out of Houston and found the rancher. The guy was big, Billy recalls. He was like a John Wayne guy. I had $250 in my pocket, and when he pulled out that '59 Burst, the deal went down. He called Renee and said, "You got the part, and now I got the guitar." And she said, "We're going to call it Pearly Gates, and you're going to use it to make music from the heavens." According to Billy, the guitar was in mint condition when he bought it. Quote, "It still had the original set of flat wound strings from the Gibson factory on it. Plus, there was an extra set of black diamond flat wounds in the case. I've still got them." Also in the case was a love note, which we also still have, from a girlfriend of the owner. It said, "I like what you do. Meet me later. You might like what I can do." Over the years, the instrument has taken its share of wear and tear, including belt buckle wear on the back of the body that Billy refers to as trash rash. But the first sign of wear was on the pickguard. Following in the footsteps of Clapton and others, Gibbons had grown out the fingernails on his right hand. Billy said, "What I hadn't counted on was that the little fingernail on my little finger was started digging into the pickguard, leaving scratches." Separate from the wear, Billy has kept Pearly 100% stock. Even the frets are original. She's serial number 91170, one of just 643 Les Paul standards shipped in 1959. Billy has a substantial collection of guitars and has spent years searching for Pearly's equal, to no avail. He's come to believe that everything aligned on that day at the factory, that the workers put everything they had into getting that guitar right, and in Billy's very educated opinion, the perfect '59 Les Paul was born. In the early years of the band, Pearly was Gibbons' main guitar, both on the road and in the studio, and the sound of Pearly is so ingrained in Billy's mind as the perfect guitar sound that when he goes on the road, he EQs all his other guitars to sound as much like Pearly as is humanly possible with modern technology. His guitar tech explains this well in an early Premier Guitar rig rundown.
The secret to the rig is every guitar has a tone it's supposed to reach, because when we change guitars, they have to be homogeneous. So if we go to a Telecaster to a Les Paul, The gain all has to be the same. We don't want you to tell that he's ever played a Telecaster. So to do that, we took a picture, played a G chord with Pearly. We still bring Pearly out all the rehearsals. We take a G chord through this setting, gives us this curve. So that's what Pearly is. So that's the benchmark. So all we do, every time I get a new guitar, I play through this setting, a G chord, and see how off it is, because it always is, and we correct it with this. And get it as, you know, it's not perfect science, but it's guitar player science, so it sort of works. And it makes everything homogeneous, because we pick up, unfortunately, Billy likes the gain that this EQ provides. So we can match the gain without having to, we can keep all the wireless as unity. That's where we'll pick up the gain differences. We've tried different pickup boosters and things. This is the most consistent way to do it. It gets a little noisy, but Billy likes noise, I think. It makes him, let him know the guitar is on. So every guitar has the EQ setting, which you can see here written down everywhere. I can look, I can see where it is. So I hand him the guitar and hit the EQ number, and that's it.
Right.
Everything will be as close as it
That'll
can.
match that up to the Pearly gates.
Yes, the Pearly gates.
In 2009, the Gibson Custom Shop built a run of Pearly Gates replicas, 350 total. 50 of them were Tom Murphy aged to match the current state of Pearly at that time, and the final 50 were aged and signed by Billy himself. At the time of this video, there were 5 of them listed on Reverb. They run from $11,500 for one of the VOS versions to over $38,000 for a fully aged but unsigned version. One can't help wondering what Pearly would be worth today. Billy shares, there was a Japanese gent who offered $5 million US, which is an attractive offer, but then again, I've spent plenty of money putting together a collection of guitars attempting to find something to replicate Pearly, and it just hasn't happened yet. That's what led to this closet full of hardwood that I have. I actually recently had a telephone conversation with Billy Gibbons. Out of the blue, he contacted me via Instagram about the pedals that David Barber and I've done together. Not sure if it was really the Reverend himself. I shared my number back, and he shared one back with me, saying he'd reach out when he could. I put the number he gave me into my phone and forgot about it. Still, I was caught off guard by the call. I really never expected to look down at my phone laying on the desk, seeing Billy Gibbons calling, scrolling across my phone screen. You just don't really expect one of your guitar heroes to ring you up with a question. The conversation was just what you'd expect. I was immediately flattered because it was clear right away that he'd watched some of the videos. But mostly, he was interested in talking about the tone we were chasing with the pedals. He was very interested, and I followed up with an email of demos and links. I hung up with one thing clearly in my mind, that after all this time, some 57 years later since acquiring Pearly Gates, just like the rest of us, Billy Gibbons is still chasing that tone in his head. First, I need to thank Jeff McErlane for playing us in and out of the video. Jeff's also been a lifelong fan of Billy's playing, and it shows. I need to thank Alan DiPerna for his December 2020 interview in Guitar Player magazine. I need to thank the Neurotic Guitarist for his recent interview with Billy that includes some of the more specific details found here. 3 books were very helpful in piecing this together: The Gibson Les Paul and Ultimate Star Guitars, both by Dave Hunter, and of course, Rock and Roll Gearhead by the Reverend Billy G himself. All of these are worth owning. If you're interested in starting your own YouTube channel, check out my course, YouTube Mastery for Musicians. I outline all the parts of running a channel there. I want to thank everyone that stopped by the online store and grabbed some merch or a 5 Watt World Barber Collaboration Overdrive. You keep the channel going. In particular, I need to thank the Friends of 5 Watt on Patreon. It's the guitar community I've always wanted. You're all 5 Watt World. I just make the videos. And finally, I want to thank Billy Gibbons for all the great music and for all the great stories he's shared with us over the years. Because music and stories, well, really they're the same thing. And when they move us, they change the way we see the world from that moment onward. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, and if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and hit that too. Thanks for hanging with me until the end. If you enjoyed this video, you probably would enjoy my history of the Les Paul Bursts. Until next time, I'm Keith Williams. Thanks for being a part of the 5 Watt World.